Okay, welcome to the Stampscapes lab. We have Stampscapes Nature Sheet number 53, Snowy Cabins, code number 74B. And this one here, we take care of a lot of snowier types of cabins. You can use cabins that are already exist in the Stampscapes line. They have a little bit more texture on the roof than a snowy one, but I don't know. These ones are much more specific to that season here. We have 4 cabins and 1 snowy church like that. I gave that church a little bit more texture to make it a little bit more, I don't know, kind of a versatile. But some additional trees in here, some snowy rocks and twigs, and a little Arctic fox because we had space for that. So I just thought something a little bit cute within the set. This set has been stamped out by my rubber guy, but I'm going to be doing some test impressions here just to make sure that all of the designs are 100% perfect. We always go for, in terms of the designs, I'm always trying for, as perfect a design as I can create. But also, as a manufacturer, I'm going for as perfect an impression quality as we can have through the engraving, the mold or matrix production, pressing of the rubber, and then the impressions themselves. Okay. As I mentioned in previous videos, that's a lot of generations away from the original design, and we want to make sure that everything went according to plan as far as how everything came out. Okay, or everything was, I should say, hoped for in terms of the quality of it. Okay, so first impression here with the one of the snowy cabins. I'm looking at all the detail within the stonework right there, the negative space within this area right in here. Little details in the snow. And then, of course, the negative space within the darker areas, and that looks pretty good to me. My rubber guy already did some test impressions, but I wanted to follow up with some impressions of my own before giving the go-ahead to get all of these in production. Something happened to, I don't know, one of the plates last time, and I just wanted to make sure that nothing like that happened again, ever. Okay, here's a couple large, well, here's a large tree. I'm going to stamp it a couple times here, I think. Okay, I see that right down there. I didn't ink it up enough. That's not a, that's a little bit of a, there's this little tiny dot right down there. Okay, but that's like a piece of lint, I think, on the stamp pad here. And I didn't ink it up enough down here. I might need to re-ink this. Okay, let's go down here like so. Yeah, perfect. Foreground trees, when you put them in the foreground like that, you can change the height of it a little bit so that it doesn't look like the exact same tree. I mean, it is, obviously, but what you want to do is you want to try to obscure kind of the, exact repetition of it. I was mistaken. So I have that little, here, that little dot in this space right here is actually in the design. I thought it was a little speck of dust, but sometimes what I do is I leave a little bit of kind of negative space texturing in solid areas just so that it doesn't, yeah, like that little dot down there, that's in the design itself right there. Right there. And I leave a little bit of texturing in there just to break up that solidness, because sometimes when you have too much solid areas, you stamp it out, and then when you lift it, there's this like, okay, I think they call it fisheye when it's in the printing process. And it's where just this puddle of ink is, and then you're kind of creating a vacuum. And then when you lift off like that, it pulls that. So sometimes if you leave a little bit of this negative space in here, these little open dots, that kind of remedies that kind of issue a little bit. But I mean, that looks like a good impression right around in here. And we have retained some of those little dots within the snowy area like that. So the snowy areas have a little bit of texturing in them, just to make it look a little bit more dimensional. Okay, this is an impression test video, but I really feel like stamping like some scenes, so I'm already thinking I need a little, like a tree right back in here or something like that to finish off this card, but maybe I'll do that in a later video. Okay, let's see. Let's test out a couple of these. Well, we'll test out everything, but let's go with another cabin right here. Let's do this. Let's put a cabin over here. Okay. I have a lot of little details in that door right there. And again, some texturing on top of that roof. That looks pretty good as far as kind of the, whatever the intention of the design. Intention of areas on the design, I should say. This cabin is a little bit smaller, so I'm stamping it a little bit higher up to represent something a little bit farther back in the distance. And let's do... let's do this one. This one's even smaller, so I'll put that one back here. So a little, you know, little, whatever, street here, community. And let's try a couple of my new snowy trees. Like a really big one here would look good, but I've already tested that design. So let's go with the kind of the medium one here. Looks like I probably need to re-ink my pad here pretty soon. Okay, I just stamped a portion of it. Let's do the whole tree here. I'm kind of making a scene here. Yeah, that tree looks awesome. All those little details up top like that. Exactly what I had hoped for. Again, I don't know. I mean, I should have faith in my engraving company is really fantastic. They can get like really, really detailed with the magnesiums, mags for short. But I'm always pretty amazed at just the amount of detail that can be achieved in this very old process of rubber stamps. Rubber stamp production. And put some other trees in the background if I wanted to kind of Masks some of that off. Here's some little snowy, I don't know, rock textures. Okay, everything's looking pretty good. Looking for detailed areas within that darker space right there. This one right here is a little bit darker so that the windows kind of stand out a little bit more. So you color those in with like yellow or something like that to, look like a warm light in the distance, whatever. Calling us home. Okay, let's see. What have we not stamped out yet? The chapel, the church here. A little bit overkill on this acrylic block. Overkill in terms of the size of the block right here for this stamp. Okay. All those little details in there retained. It's really great work by the engraving company. And let's see. Okay, so one of the stamp sets that's a really good accompanying stamp set is Nature Sheet number 14, Nature Sheet or Nature Set number 14. And okay, my block here isn't big enough for my stamp. It's hanging off a little bit, but let's do this little creek here. Snowy creek. Let's do this. So you put a cabin or a snowy church or something like that next to the creek. That creek's going right up to there. Which you wouldn't want that, okay, but let's just see what this looks like here. Let's go back to the medium-sized tree. Okay, now let's go like this. This is what I do right here. You see this little whatever, snowy slopes or something like that. What you do is you kind of continue that up like this, okay? Just with the torn paper towel, and then you go like, you take your tree, in this case maybe the snowy tree, and then you stamp it right there. And now see you've continued that little area up here with a cutoff version of this taller tree. You see it's just that portion of it right there. Okay? And then, let's see, let's get the smaller version of this snowy tree. Have I tried this one yet? Yeah, we put it right there. Okay. I want some smaller trees in the background. Well, let's put this one right here. Like that, just to flank it a little bit. And then you go with the torn side, not the straight edge paper towel, okay? Go like this, and then add some additional trees right back here in the distance. Like that. All right. I mean, you can do this right up the hill or something like that. You can see how this is kind of like sloped going this way a little bit. Now what you do is you change the angle a little bit like this, okay? Now let's put some trees up here. I'm not taking my time to really get perfect inked up stamp right here. But I have these areas going up like that. Maybe it's a little bit too clumpy like that. Maybe I need it a little bit less jagged like that. Here, let me see if I can get a smoother tear like this. Here, let me add in a few extras. Yeah, something like that. And you're going to color it in too. Okay, let's see. Oh, let's see, is this little fox? I don't have too much space on this. But let's see if I can get them to fit in there and test them out. Let me take a look here first. Yeah, boy. So this fox right here, there was some really delicate areas of shadow in the tail and right underneath his head right there. And they retained it. It's like right in here and right here. Just that faint, like, I don't know, whatever, 15% gray or something like that. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking for my last set. Whatever, you know, I just used it. Here, let's go with the Let It Snow here. Now this one isn't on this set right here. This is on the other set that's being released, but quote stamp right here. I probably didn't get that straight, but it's not too bad. Have a little snowfall in here or something like that. All right, so let's see. We have one more stamp to try out. This is a wood grain paper right here. Let's give that a try. I need a big acrylic block for this. Wood grain paper right here, so you're stamping onto these printer inks, so kind of stamp and hold for a little bit longer just to allow more of the ink to transfer onto that paper. It's a matte paper. It's a matte placemat paper, disposable placemat paper. You know, just cut down really small, but kind of stamp and hold for a little bit longer than maybe you normally would. Let's see, let's go for another impression of it right here. All right, I couldn't stand it, you know. I'm not just going for impression test, stamping out a little scene right here. You know, but a really quick scene. Okay, now that one I didn't hold for as long as this one. You can tell this one right here is a little bit more gray, or a lighter gray than this one. Okay. On these types of papers, like a VersaFine Clair would probably be a really good choice for a ink. All right, let's go with that cabin that we stamped the first time. I'll stamp it high up here in the corner. And let's see, let's get a couple of these little snowy twigs here. See these types of things sticking out of the snow. You can even have it in spring and then put a little bit of a growth, like little green leaves on these twigs or something like that. And let's see here. Let's do our little, again, okay, now I'm taking the slider from the other set. And let's put them right here. I would put some white pigment ink down in here too. Probably color in these rooftops with some white. You can use like a pastel pencil would be good. And let's try our snowy tree row, again from the other set. So all the impressions right here from this set look really good. We can proceed with giving the green light to the production of them. These stamps should be out in about a week to a week and a half or so. Okay, I'm taking off some of the ink off this bottom portion and putting some background trees in here. Let's really take off a lot of ink off the corner. And again, it's because I'm going to be overlapping this cabin a little bit. So, and then kind of wiping off some of that ink. I won't have those trees going into the cabin like that. All right, so it looks like they're kind of back in the distance in the fog. Okay, another tree right here. Another snowy tree to fill out our winter wonderland. That. And our little character there is not a ghost. So we'll put some footsteps down in the snow for them like that. Be cool to put like a little deer or something like that back in there. All right, so some different imagery impressions right here. They all look really good in terms of the impression quality, and as far as like detail retention, as far as I can see, they look really good. There's a lot of detail in a couple of these designs. The trees have tight detail, but that can be stamped out with just without anything, practically anything. The chapel right here, you don't want your, just a black pad or whatever you're stamping, like something like this. You can just be like completely sopping wet, okay? I mean, it'll give you an impression, but, you might lose some of the really fine detail, like up in here, that texturing on the rooftop. If you start getting blotching or something like that, when you ink up with your, you don't want to like sop up all the ink out of it, but when you ink up your stamp on your pad, I'm just gonna give an example. You ink it up like that. You get some of those beads of ink in there. It might be puddled up a little bit, but then just kind of drag it for like 1/8 of an inch on your pad, and that kind of smooths it, out, and sometimes it'll sop up some of the, the puddling that's occurring in your stamp. That's, and again, that's if you want to get, go for kind of maximum detailing, where those details are. Oops. All right. Nature set number 53, due out pretty soon. Snowy cabins. Hope you like the designs. Thanks so much for watching.